In your first book, Let's Lead, you talk about the importance of reading different situations that you approach, whether business, work, whatever it may be. Janice is a famous
Oh
character in the
yeah,
book.
yeah, yeah.
Can you talk about that story and how you learned how to?
I learned a lot from that, and it's a true story, like everything I write about. And I read the entire thing completely wrong, and it's a dramatic kind of impression of what I'm trying to convey. So not everybody's going to have a situation like this, but uh, back in the old days in Lower Delaware, when I was a state trooper, there was no county and very few city police at all. So usually you're by yourself when you went to anything. And so domestics can be rampant at times. And so I was called to a domestic in progress in a trailer park in the middle of Lower Delaware. And back then in the 80s, the early 80s, people don't realize, like, when you go to these things, like, the roads were dirt. They weren't paved. There was no asphalt. Like, they were literally dirt roads you went down. And so the dispatch instructions would be something like, go to County Road whatever, make a left, go by the chicken farm on the right, and it'll be the second double wide on the left. That was your instructions. And it was summertime, pouring down rain, night. And I remember shining my flashlight out the car trying to see this trailer, and I saw a trailer back in the woods. So I drove back all by myself. There was 3 of us on the road that shift. I remember distinctly, and one of the troopers was 30 miles north handling something, and the other trooper was 10 or 15 miles south. So I know I'm there by myself, and there was no county police. So anyway, I pull up to this trailer. It's pouring down rain, and the first thing I notice when I pull up the trailer is all the windows are broken out of it.
Oh,
But the
wow.
lights are on. So I'm like, there's something not right here. So I get out, I tell the dispatch center I'm out. I get out of the car, pouring down rain. I get this rain poncho on. I peek through the door, which is wide open, and there's a keg of beer just running open onto the kitchen floor. And so I yell, hey, anybody home? And the back part of the trailer, usually, most trailers usually have a narrow hallway leading back to 2 or 3 bedrooms. And I hear some scuffling about in the back, and all of a sudden, this giant, towering man comes out of the back bedroom with no shirt on. He had to duck to go through the doorway. I remember this distinctly. And when I first went on the state police, I'm 5'11", 6 foot tall. I weighed 155 pounds. I'm there all by myself, and he had cuts and bruises all over his face, and he was bleeding. And I yelled to him to put his hands up, and surprisingly, he did. Because usually you see that stuff in the movies. Like, most of the time, they never put their hands up. So he put his hands up. I put him on a couch, and I handcuffed him until I figured out what was going on. And to handcuff this guy, I needed 2 pairs of handcuffs. Like, he was so big, his hands could not fit together. Very, very nice guy. And we start talking. And I say, what's going on? And I shut the beer keg off, and I searched the trailer.
But
and
he's cooperating with
he's
you.
very cooperative, and he's bleeding all over the place, and it's pouring down rain. It's very loud and raining in this trailer. It's got a tin roof, and we're almost screaming at each other to hear each other. And he says, well, it's Janice. It's my girlfriend. And I think Janice is dead someplace, so I'm looking under the bed. I'm looking in the refrigerator. No Janice. And so he says she ran out and she ran across the field. So I go back to the door of my mag light. I'm looking across this soybean field. Now remember, it's a dirt road. It is pouring down rain. And I see a blob sort of laying in the field. Now you got to remember, there's nobody around. It's just me. So back then, police cars don't have cages. There's none of this stuff. So I tell him to sit on the couch and don't move. Right? There's my big move, right? And I go out and I walk across this dirt, muddy road into this very muddy soybean field. And as I start getting near this blob, the blob starts to scream at me, right? And it's using every defamatory kind of cuss word that you can think of about, I don't want you to get away from me, blah, blah, blah. And I've got my flashlight and I'm shining it on me because I got my hat and everything. I'm like, Janice, it's Bob. I'm a trooper. I'm here to help you. Here's my uniform. You know what I mean? And I get right up next to her, and the first thing I see is she's got a butcher knife sticking out of her left arm. And it's just sticking there, straight out of her left arm. And it's raining, and I'm by myself. And then out of nowhere, I hear this other woman yelling, and she's running across the field. And I turned to look at this woman, and it was the worst mistake I ever made in my life. Because right after I turned, my head got knocked forward, my hat came off, and I put my hand to the back of my head, and when it came back, all it was blood. And when I turn around, here's my buddy Janice standing there with a big keychain and a broken Michelob bottle. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen how thick a Michelob beer bottle is. And she had smashed that over the back of my head when I turned to look at this other woman. Now,
Still has the butcher knife.
still got the butcher knife sticking out of her left shoulder. So I hit Janice as hard as I can hit Janice right in the face. And Janice gets knocked out. She's on the ground. I'm bleeding. Now I'm thinking I'm going to get fired because she's got a butcher knife sticking out of her shoulder. And I hit her in the face. I'm still by myself. The woman literally takes her shirt off, hands it to me, and runs away. I to this day, I have no idea who this woman is. We had no idea. So I put the woman's shirt on the back of my head because I'm bleeding. I leave Janice in the field, unconscious with a butcher knife in her arm. Remember, there's nobody coming. It's just me. I still got the big Goliath guy cuffed on the couch back at the trailer. I slowly walk back. My hat's in the field. I lost that. I go walking back, and I literally get to the trailer where the beer's running out on the floor, and I sit in the doorway in the pouring rain, holding my head, figuring out, now what do I do? And I look over at the big guy, and I swear to God, the guy looks at me, and the first thing he says is, "I see you met Janice." And it's, to me, it was one of the most defining moments of my career. One, it's a true story, but two, everything I should have done, I didn't do. And now, granted, it's kind of a far-reaching example, but to answer your question, it was a good example.